Aloha and good morning. This is Clint Hansen with Maui Luxury Real Estate. I wanted to reach out to everybody today to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. We're coming to that wonderful part of year. It's kind of hard to be merry this time of year with all the craziness that's going on. We thought it would only be a couple of months, and as you all know, it's rolling on, and we're just hoping this vaccine gets here a little bit sooner. It's 7 a.m. We're broadcasting on the KAOI radio group, 1110 a.m., 97.6 FM, 98.7 FM, and of course our friends on the west side at 95.5 FM. Today we want to talk about the spirit of giving. We like to give and work with a number of charities throughout the year. You guys probably recently saw our food drive with the Maui Food Bank in conjunction with our friends here in Kihei at Hope Chapel. We had sponsored the meals and had close to 900 vehicles through that day when we were only expecting 700. There's an immense need, definitely. One of the favorite charities is the Maui Food Bank, but fortunately they're getting good backing from state and local government. In addition to that, one of our favorite charities and ones we work with every year is Friends of the Children's Justice Center. This is Paul Tunnison and my mom and dad, Bob and Donna Hansen. Everybody say hello.
Hello.
So this is a little bit different than our usual radio shows. I've actually been doing more of these Zoom meetings, and then I'll extract the audio and broadcast this on Facebook, and then put the audio, of course, on the radio. But if you guys are noticing that the audio is not that great, it's because we're going through Zoom. So Paul, I just wanted to touch base with you and say thank you so much. We would have been going into our 22nd annual toy drive. You want to tell us a little bit about your organization and what you do?
Sure. We were established 31 years ago to begin the healing process of victims, childhood victims of abuse and neglect, and sexual, physical, emotional. And we are the healing tool. We were actually created due to some concerns from some judges that was discussed at a Rotary meeting about that they are getting justice for the crime for the victims, but there is no one there to follow that victim into their healing process and supply the necessary tools to begin that. So that's our main focus. We also do a lot of prevention work. Clint and I were just talking, and Donna and Bob, about working with the Maui police with some of the homeless kids who, through no choice of their own, are out there, and making sure that neglect is not really sometimes intentional, but that we've been meeting the needs of those children, especially during COVID.
Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, it depends. Everybody has a unique situation, but with the homeless children that are out there, Hawaii is one of the highest per capita areas of homelessness in the nation. And a lot of it has to do with the high housing costs here in Hawaii. That's one of the reasons our other favorite charity is Mahalo Maui, which is actually a community land trust. We were one of the first people to start and donate with seed money to that process. And Dad, you want to talk a little bit about Mahalo Maui and the process that's
Well, sure. It's near and dear to my heart, of course. We started that like 12 years ago, give or take. And basically it's the leasehold model, and it's throughout the country.
Shared ownership.
With John Anderson and myself, we put in $20,000 to get the thing started. Right now we have 41 affordable homes in perpetuity. So, and we actually own the land, or Mahalo Maui owns the land, and then we charge them like $10 a year. If these people buy in, they have to take classes to get their credit score up. They have to, it's just, if they want to buy these homes, they can get them very inexpensively comparatively to anything else. As years go on, they get more percentage and more percentage of the appreciation of the property.
Yeah.
And it's a really good deal. And the average nationwide is about 7 years. Over 70% of the people get out of that market into the regular market, because they know how to get their credit score up, they know how to save money, they know how to take care of their houses. And then somebody new comes in and gets that process started. So
it's a tremendous vehicle to get people to home ownership. It's one of the largest savings that people do is the money that they put into a home, which is nearly impossible here in Hawaii with the high cost of living. But this is a tremendous vehicle for people to use in order to, become. It's not the only answer, obvious, and there's got to be other options. Talked about some of those in earlier radio shows, but it's pretty amazing what they're capable of doing thus far. And the fact that they actually use it as a vehicle to get into the open market is really impressive. But, that number of homes is small in comparison to the number of homeless that are out there. And there's a whole variety of reasons that people become homeless, including drugs and alcohol, but a lot of it is, the high cost of living out here. So tell us a little bit more, Paul, about the homeless children and some of the programs that you have for them.
Well, the funny thing is you talk about drug and alcohol, and, a lot of times I use a phrase, and a lot of people think it's a little harsh, but it's real. Broken children become broken adults. And I know your mom had the honor of watching the parents have their visit with their children at Christmas. And it's usually done in a room with a supervisor sitting there watching the interaction with their child. And we, through sponsorships and people like, your family, we were able to do it at Kahili down in the banquet room. And it's just amazing what these parents, and one thing I'll share is last year, a Blue Hawaiian helicopter closed down for a day. It took all the foster kids with their parents out on helicopter rides and then did a banquet for them for Christmas.
Oh, wow. What an incredible experience.
Yeah. And what happened was I said at the end, they were, I thanked them through the microphone. And I said, thank you for showing these children this caring and loving community. Now, all these parents that had all different issues of why the children were originally removed, every one of them came up to me during that night and said, I wish I knew someone had cared when I was a child.
Yeah.
So it's that multi-generational. So that's a big focus, is breaking that cycle. And in defense of the parents, they were never given tools. They were never given the proper tools to be able, So that's a big focus.
Maui, there's a lot more vehicles out there to help people in desperate need. You're one of many opportunities for people to get the help. I love Cup of Cold Water. I love all the outreach that these churches and organizations that are doing. We helped with the mobile showers that are now going out, and that's another vehicle to get people into and understanding what resources are available out there. Rent assistance, HUD, there's a many number of vehicles, but we like you guys especially because, there's always a fondness for children and the needs that they have. And like you said, it's about breaking that cycle and giving them the resources, the time to really show them that they're, loved and looked out for. And a lot of those programs can help, the parents themselves get the help that they need so that they can be the fullest and best parents possible to these, young developing adults that, are coming into the world.
Can I interject something?
Absolutely.
I was just going to say, in order to get some people to relate to how serious this is and how important it is, I've said to them, when you see these people that are walking down the street talking to themselves, going, for instance, to St. Teresa's for food, carrying around, and it's incredible. Those people, a lot of those people didn't have the ability to have Children's Justice Center come in and help them recover when they were children, and now they're adults, and the cycle continues. And it's really important to be able to know that a gift, whether it's medical or a toy or whatever, gives that child the hope and the belief that there is a potential for joy and happiness and that they are cared and loved for. It's so important to have that feeling of love.
And that, Donna, touching on that is perfect because you guys show that every year to these children, you know, really. And that's what they need to know. I have, as you know, you've met many of them, the foster children myself.
Yeah.
And when I see a person like you just described, I always say to them, you know, they used to be a child. I wonder what happened,
Yeah.
right?
They need
Because
us.
something had to happen along the way to get to where they are today.
So,
Thank you, Don.
in addition to that too, I mean, one of the reasons that you guys were initially put in place and why they needed this additional resources is because if you're going to be going through federal programs, typically there's a lot of red tape in order to acquire funding. So creating a 501c3 really helps cut through that so that they can do that immediate response. Because, you know, many of these children are in foster care situations where, you know, the parents end up having to, you know, go for a number of reasons, whether that, you know, be criminal, drug, or alcohol. You know, mental breakdown, mental health is an amazing and important facet of all families, you know, and we all find ourselves in different mental states. And right now, with all that's happening with COVID, there's more and more stresses on these families and can cause these triggers where, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be drugs or alcohol. It can just simply cause a mental breakdown where they need these resources available. And, you know, if there is a situation where a child is separated from the family and they need to sit with auntie, uncle, grandma, or grandpa, you know, the police can't drop them off there unless they have some essentials. So you want to talk a little bit about that, Paul?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because, you know, we're always evolving. I am a big advocate for these children, and we have a group, Kuliki, which is the judges, the prosecutors, Maui Police Department, and Department of Education. We always get together quarterly, and out of that came the POI project for the children, because it goes back to broken children. When a child comes before the judges for behavior, we are a punitive country, so they have a list of the punitive actions that need to be taken. Well, Maui is amazing family court. Judge Healy was just with me this morning at Shop with a Cop. Such a compassionate and empathetic person. But what happens is we meet and we've gone through trauma-informed care training for the judges. That's another thing we focus on is supplying the training they need about understanding that this child is traumatized, does not have any tools to process that trauma, so they're doing it in unhealthy ways. And now we're punishing them for not supplying those tools to them. So they have POI project, which is positive outreach intervention, which is they get deferred through the system into the program, and Maui Police runs it. And they never have any type of criminal history in the court. Because some of these children, they're young, 10, 11 years old, that are coming in for anger issues or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So that is a huge thing. And out of that, because what I said to one of the judges once is, all well and good, they can go to this program all day Saturday and 2 nights a week, but where are they the rest of the time? They're back in that environment that created this. So then they did an offshoot in the Maui Police Department called Kalo. And Kalo now, they bring the whole family in.
Oh, good.
And, yeah, and they have therapists available. The friends sponsor the food, the dinners for them. And they separate the adults and the children, and then they have different training topics for the parents, like parenting and all different types of things. Great programs.
It's amazing to see the difference that some of these children go through, you know, and a lot of the hands-on work that you guys do. You know, we've been doing this for a long time, and this year would have been our 22nd annual, you know, Friends of the Children's Justice Center toy drive. We usually have around 300 or so, 400 of our past clients, friends, co-workers, they're all there working together towards helping you guys out. But, you know, when you've put us, you know, in contact with these children and been there for the gifting process and, you know, getting to know them through the steps and processes that are available. And, I mean, it's a large need. What'd you say, 2,200 children last year?
Yes, and we're up to about 2,700 gifts this year.
Wow, yeah, it's a big jump. I mean, that's almost a 30% jump. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So
Well, we've tripled the amount of requests this year during COVID. Sad to say, there's a lot of physical abuse going on right now. We just had a grandmother physically assault her 2 grandchildren, I think,
Wow.
with a hammer.
Oh,
So it goes back to what you were talking about, Clint. We're adding stress factors by having children in someone's care that doesn't have the coping mechanisms. And I'm not defending the grandmother's actions, but I know personally, I have foster children in my home, and this virtual learning and coming home and finding out they didn't sign on, right? I'm getting frustrated, but I have the tools to process it and say, don't react, retract, let's have a conversation. But some of these people, again, it goes back to, they were never given those coping mechanisms or to think it through and have a conversation with the child, so they're reacting in unhealthy ways.
or in knowing that it's not their fault too, because I mean, these
Right.
kids, I know in the beginning, when I've seen some of these children, they don't look you in the eye. They're staring down at the ground, you know, they're very sullen, you know, kind, sweet, but you know, at the time you can tell that they've been through war. They've had
They don't trust.
a lot of put on their shoulders, a lot of responsibility that, you know, they've not been able to be children. There's these young kids that have even younger siblings that are responsible for every meal that they eat, you know, all the stressors in their life. And, you know, all of a sudden you have these small children being the parents, you know, of the household. And then, you know, seeing what you've been capable to do, by the end of it, their eyes are looking directly at you. They're cognizant, you know, they're carrying on a conversation, you know, that you can tell that they're able to, you know, and not just internalize that this is their fault, this is something that they've done. Instead, realize it's a situation that they're in, that there's resources and people that are there to help you and, you know, that aren't going to let you fall through the cracks as long as you reach out and understand that that help's available. And that's why it's so important with, you know, giving to these, you know, Friends of the Children's Justice Center, because it allows them, the more money that they have, more toys, extends that net to the greater growing need. Yeah, Dad?
Yeah, I was just going to say that over the years, Don and I and you, Clint, have had the opportunity to meet some of the, you know, graduates of the
yeah,
program.
awesome.
And I'm just so impressed with these kids. They want to actually help the Friends of the Children's Justice Center. They want to help all. They want to get involved. And they do get involved. And they're just the nicest kids, you know, and they're from different islands, and we've met them, and it just does my heart really good and just reinforces what we need to do to support the Friends of the Children's Justice Center.
Yep.
Now and into the future.
I have a,
I'm smiling, you know why? Because 3 years ago, I always ask these kids to give back. Are you fortunate? And they want to. And one of them had a really horrible, they found him after being locked in a closet for 5 days.
oh,
Right? But the sweetest kid, and in foster care, you know, they don't have a lot. A lot of the people that do it don't have a lot. They do it out of the kindness of their heart.
Right.
And I asked them to volunteer to help me with the toys for your annual party. He said, okay. I said, well, you know, you have to dress up a little bit, Kaylee, because it's a little more fancier. And he said, oh, okay, Uncle, right? So he was in a foster home in Haiku. I go out to Haiku. Must have borrowed someone's jeans. And the kid's all of about 5 foot tall. He's got them all rolled up. He's got old dirty shoes. And I just looked and I said, I'm not going to say anything. And they said, Kaylee, why don't we stop at Target on the way? Right? And we stopped, and I just said, I got to pick some things up. And I bought him into the clothing section. I go, what size are you? Oh, all right. So we talked to the girl at the dressing room, and I said, is it okay if we just cut the tags off and go up and pay? And she's like, yeah. So he had to do a whole, you know, dress over, but it was cute. And he was so proud of those clothes when he got there. You know what I mean?
Great.
I remember
What a
that.
great story.
I do have a question, Paul. Is that anger management program that the police department now has, Is the Department of Education in Maui, are those teachers cooperating? And if they see a child in need of some help, are they reported right away to the Children's Justice Center or to CPS or?
Yes.
They are?
Department of Education actually helped us make a mandated reporting video 3 years ago. And those are other things the Friends do. We created statewide mandated reporting. Anyone, even if it's a custodian on the property of a school, is a mandated reporter. Anyone that has access through their profession to children is a mandated reporter. So yeah, they have been really good. And another thing, Donna, I want to commend them for, we had never thought about it before, but I grew up very poor. And I remember not having a lot of things. So what I did is I addressed them at their annual meeting about maybe 8 or 9 years ago. If you see a child that has the same clothes on, please let us know. We'll give you a shopping voucher for us. So they've been really good. Naturally with COVID, there's no eyes on the children, but on things like one girl, the mother wasn't buying the girl glasses that she couldn't see.
Yeah.
So for the first 2 months of school, so a teacher called me and said, is that something you can do? And I said, yeah. And again, the compassion of the teacher, she said, is it okay if I bring her to lens practice because she has trust issues?
Oh, really?
And you can reimburse me? And I said, absolutely. So yeah, they're doing a good job, the DOE.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that. Because we used to have a lot of problems with mental health and getting people, teachers and all. So I'm glad to hear that they've moved forward. That's very good news. Thank you.
Having a community approach is really important.
More and more people are becoming educated
That's
regarding mental health, eyesight, hearing, the whole thing.
Yay.
And it's really important to have that community approach for these kids, the teachers, the parents, you know, the police, you know, everybody to be educated on board and, you know, have that process in place so that people can get the help that they need. And, you know, realize that this is not something other than people that need help, you know, and the reason we love this program so much is the fact that it really goes to help the community of Maui County. I mean, we see the results every day. We know where the money's going. We see the effect on the people of Maui. And as we've come into these times, there's been more and more of a need. So Friends of the Children's Justice Center, if you're going to be giving to that, you know that you're going to be, you know, benefiting your local community and seeing that effect firsthand. And, you know, we have a long list. We've been, you know, on island for over 30 years now. Close to like $1 billion in sales since they've been selling real estate for how many years now, Mom? 46?
We don't talk about that.
Does that mean you were 1 or 2 at the time? I'm confused. So, but you know, a long list of people that aren't really Maui people. They come here, they visit, but they feel a part of that community. They know that when they are here, it's not just about, oh, this is my vacation, this is my time. They understand that they're, you know, as buying into the community, you know, even though it's a vacation rentable condo or something along those lines, every year they've, you know, been writing checks, giving gifts. A lot of people have been scheduling their trip to Maui so that they can be here. And, you know, I've gotten dozens of calls from people just heartbroken about, you know, the state that we're all in right now and the difficulties of traveling. They don't want to burden our communities more. So, you know, instead of giving gifts, I'm getting more checks. But people that are actually living here on Maui are stepping up too. And we are, you know, we still got another few weeks until Christmas time. And this radio show is going to go twice. So it's going to probably be a week for the next one. But that being said, we've had really good donations thus far. We're ahead of where we were last year, which is fantastic. You can see we've got our office here and our Christmas tree, all the gifts that people have been donating. A large portion is actually by some of our office staff, which is fantastic. JC brought in a huge bunch of gifts, which is fantastic, us too. You can see skateboards and, you know, lots of toys and stuffies, but you know, one of the things that is, you know, a big part of this is the fact that we have a lot of teenagers that need clothes. You know, so people are also donating gas cards. They're donating checks, which usually is one of the best forms of donation, because every dollar is really tripled in its effectiveness because it goes directly. And you guys get discounts too, because people want to work with a local community foundation that, you know, does good. So giving to you directly is one of the most effective means. But can you tell other ways? Because we have lots and lots of children's gifts, and, you know, and a smaller percentage is teenagers, but that is actually relatively 50-50 from my understanding, right? In the age demographic?
Yes, definitely. You know, it's funny because Clinton texted me earlier and I was at Shop at the Cop, and, you know, I had to run back to the office. That's when I got the text, because we have a kid with some severe dental needs. And you had talked about this in the very beginning, Clint, about the red tape with the government. So if you go into foster care, you go into Quest. So everything with Quest is cosmetic. We've literally had children, their teeth ripping their gums or ripping out their insides of their cheeks or their lips. And it's considered cosmetic and we can pull it. Well, so over the years, you wouldn't believe how many children we have brought smiles back to their faces. One girl sent this big picture and it was all her teeth, right? Like, but it was self-esteem. She had 0, and her caseworker was like, "Oh my God, she's a different person. She smiles." Because she used to keep her mouth closed all the time because she didn't want people to see her teeth. You know, and for that reason, we don't take any state, federal, or county fund, no governmental money, because we never want someone to say, no, you can't do that for this child. So that I just got a request last night from one of the guardian ad litems that was representing a child in care, and they sent me a picture of the young man, and, you know, the teeth are horrendous. And is there anything we can do? And one of the best part, and I'm thinking of Bob Mahalo, Maui, when the housing market bought a bunch of homes in my subdivision. And I watched these people from the day they walked into those homes, not really understanding, to the beautification of their yards.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, the pride, you know, it just restored faith in them, you know. And this young man, I have to present it to the board because it's not inexpensive, but touching on what you were saying, Clint, the dentist, they give us like 50% off as part of the charitable contribution to work with these children. But if no one was there to do that, that child would literally have the teeth removed. And, you know, so.
That means a lot of those kids will never get those teeth back. You know, it's important.
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah. You know,
it's building the self-esteem will help make them a more well-rounded adult as they grow older. You know, feel a part of the community as somebody that, you know, needs to hide or something along those lines. Even if you know, are missing some teeth or something like that, there's really nothing to be ashamed of. It's just, you know, it builds that self-confidence, you know, and it's important.
I have a foster son who told me that all he ever thought he was going to be doing was bagging groceries and Molokai at Friendly Market. That was his future. Living without running water, and came over here with me and my husband a couple years back. And we took actually his cousin prior to that. And you guys have met these 2 young men. And the funny thing is, he's in college. He was the star. He was the star of the football team last year. Captain. And again, it's just, but he went to college, and his English class wanted an essay on why did you choose to go to college? And he talked about the family dysfunction. And we were crying, including him, because he always wants us to read it to us to see how it sounds. But he talked about having to sneak into people's yards to drink water out of their hoses. You know, so it's just amazing when you can just invest into these children. And there's too many of them. That's the sad thing. I would have a 60-story high-rise with a kid peeking out every window if I had my way. You know what I mean? It's because it's overwhelming at times, and
Yeah.
you know. And then now for us, because we do have 2 Molokai youth, you know, they all want to come over here.
Sure. Of course.
They took a young girl from a property, and the police said, well, you know, you've got to go with this caseworker who's there when they're doing it from child welfare. And she said, no, I want to go to Uncle Paul's.
Aw, that's beautiful.
Oh.
I just gotta say, you know, just so you know, I think today we just finished up and got over 800 personal letters to everybody in South Maui area with return envelopes. Just today was the day. We got it all done. I mean, we've been working on it for like 2 weeks, but we finally got them out, you know, their address. It looks like handwriting, so people will open them up.
Mhm.
And we're focusing on checks, gift cards this year, but I am shocked and surprised how many gifts there are too.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's the thing. We're getting these cards already. People who are, you know, desperate to help out with our community because it's something that they do on a regular basis. You know, we're a little late on getting these out because we've been scrambling on how exactly we're going to reach out to our friends and family and clientele that we have year after year. This, of course, is another one of the extension. You know, we were desperately trying to seek a location where we could do a drive-through Christmas event because we couldn't hold our normal party and have different themed, you know, holiday areas. And what ended up happening is, you know, as a result of other drive-by events, people were really concerned about partnering just because of the sheer volume. There's so little to do that when you make one of these events that it can be, you know, overwhelming. So we felt we had it under control, but, you know, it is a tremendous undertaking to have to handle hundreds of cars coming through an area. Seabury actually recently did just a phenomenal job with their Halloween one. Actually they did not anticipate that much interest, but as an event goes, it was phenomenally well run, except for the traffic situation. And I have to commend them for the efforts that they put forward. And the Christmas ones, now that they knew the number of people that would potentially be interested, they put a limit on those number. They put a time schedule on there, and it went absolutely flawless. Mr. and Mrs. Claus was there. They actually were greeting people as they were coming by. And it was just a fabulous event. They had hundreds of toys and I think almost $7,000 or so in donations, which is just a wonderful outpouring. That was Seabury's event that we weren't able to, you know, because it's for students and parents and stuff go there. I was glad I'm an alumni there, so I gave them some of our decorations and lasers and, you know, connections that we have to make it even more special. But I love seeing that people put this time together, and now that Maui's getting closer to Christmas, we're sending out this. It's definitely to get to people in time because I'm just so happy that they want to. I mean, it's not that we're like begging or being like, please donate, because people want to. I mean, we really have an amazing group of people and friends, and, you know, we're blessed to call people clients now friends. So it's just, it feels great. And there's so much desperation right now in people's lives. And they're just, you know, with the lack of a light at the end of the tunnel, you know, come the day after Christmas, they're every single day trying to see if the government is going to be able to further out the bailout, and they themselves, you know, might find themselves on the street. So just, we got to know that the Maui community is going to come together and do everything we can to feed, clothe, and shelter as many people as we can. And right now we're doing pretty darn good.
I just want to say, I want to thank Gabby Lopez and her daughters. They actually, and then Dennis, they literally got all 800 of those letters out, those cards out. And they worked yesterday and
Tirelessly.
evening and this morning. and Dennis too. So I just want to give a shout out to them. They've worked really hard, which I really appreciate.
They've always helped for years.
Oh, they always do.
Yeah. So I got another couple of really quick stories. One is last night I went to the office and, you know, your friends, Clint, the people that are staying in the house you have listed with the 4 kids that are.
At one. Yes, I do.
Yeah, they get in with their 4 kids. They're so cute, and they brought a bunch of gifts. You know, and
that's so sweet.
yeah, I know. And the kids were all wide-eyed and just they were understood. And then the other thing is, because we're right outside of Mateo's restaurant.
Yeah.
So another guy.
Yeah, that's where our office is.
And he's so impressed with all the gifts and everything. Wondered what it was for. And he gave us a $50 bill.
Oh.
Don't forget that. I won't keep that.
Sure.
I
Paul's
have
gonna be counting that.
We're going shopping tomorrow.
awesome. Isn't that
Costco, here we come.
So we're gonna get a bunch of gifts from him, just from people, you know, because we open our doors and the restaurant's right there. So
It helps.
Ryan's awesome. I love his kids, and they've always been so accommodating because, you know, they're the tenants at a house that we have for sale. So, you know, we really try to work as a team effort and get everybody on a system in place. And they've just been glorious to work with, and they have the biggest hearts. Again, you know, they're here and finding themselves a part of the Maui community. It's wonderful to see people want to give back. I love it.
Yeah.
And people are
Paul,
so
you've been fantastic.
Go ahead, Donna.
No, I was just gonna say, you've been absolutely fantastic. You, your partner, and, you know, and the Children's Justice Center, and how you have so many volunteers, and I love how you give such love and confidence to these kids. You make such a difference. And I'm just so grateful to you for being the support person that you are. Thank you.
Well, you run an incredibly tight ship too. I mean, that's one of the most important things when I decide who I'm going to be donating to, is that, you know, there's a lot of loss associated with charities out in the world, and people may not realize this, but, you know, certain charities, which I won't mention, have very little percentage of the money that you give to them go to the actual people who need it. And you guys are incredibly efficient. I mean, it's like 12% of your operating budget or something like that?
11%. One thing,
11.
see, I've been involved with the Friends since 1999 as a board member.
Yeah.
Every time, we've only had 3 executive directors in 31 years. Every time the executive director retires, the board panics. So the last time when Rosemary retired in 2005, I believe, the board panicked. One of the board members stepped up and said, Randy said, I'll do it. Right? And then when he retired, we went through the whole thing again. And I went home to my husband and said, how would you like it if I took a big pay cut? And he just said, what? And I said, and I told him, I said, Randy's retiring. And he said, if you could have the most ultimate job in the world, that would be the job you would take. And it's true.
Yeah.
You know, it's so rewarding. And one thing with our board, you are told when you join, this is a working board. They come in and do data entry, talking about stuffing envelopes.
Yeah.
You know, the PGA, we're beneficiaries of that, and the opening up in the beginning of January, they park cars, and these are doctors and lawyers, and, you know what I mean?
Right.
Professionals in the community, they serve food. You know what I mean, at the golf tournament. I mean, it's just, there's nothing beneath them because there's empathy and compassion in their hearts. And if you ever try to join our board without that, I'm going to tell you right now, Maureen Mars being one of them. Goodbye. Right? Don't come here for a title. There's no titles here. You know, and that's why I loved the Friends from day one when I got involved as a board member for so many years. So
that's one thing Bob and Donna, they've tried to get, they've been trying to get me to join a number of different boards. And I'm starting to lean closer to Mahalo, Maui. And then as I've been developing my career, I've had my license for 20 years, and I'm starting to carve a notch out for serving. and putting that time forward to further benefiting the community. And
It's always the friends.
it's terrifying, absolutely. But there's so much time and love that you got to put into these because it's needed. I mean, if you don't step up, who's going to do it? You got to actually throw down and make something happen. It's not like you can just be like a boss and be like, make sure this gets done and this, it's not like that. It's like, oh, this needs to get done. It's this guy that's going to do it. I'm going to go out there and make sure that trench gets dug. Because
And I know you did Mahalo Maui with Cassandra, who's amazing,
Yeah.
right? But it's the same thing. There's no 8-hour days.
never.
No.
Literally the other day, we did an event for foster kids at night. Gave them some goodie bags and food from Four Sisters Bakery, bunch of stuff. And I had got home and I go, boy, it's been like 16 hours since I left the house this morning, right? But it's a smile because of the rewards of everything that the outcomes, and that's the kind of people that get involved with nonprofits. It's not a 9 to 5 and sorry, I get off at 4:45 today. It's like, your mom calls me at 3 o'clock and says, oh, I got a bunch of things today. And it's like, well, let's schedule for next Wednesday now. It's like, let me call Skip at Surf Friends. And this is why it takes a village who donates me a truck.
Yeah.
I'll go there at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, get it out. I'll be there before noon, right? And so Maui's got a great community for that. And that touches more when I was saying like the dentist giving back, the other ways to give back.
Yeah.
By not having to rent a truck. You know what I mean?
And when you get
Every
out
year.
there, when you're doing it, I mean, if there's been nights where we're moving toys close to midnight, putting things away because there's other people coming in, and you've always put 110% in, your whole team is incredible. So we really feel blessed to be working with you guys.
No, it's an honor because you guys, I mean, and I know you realize it, but a lot of people that are listening to this don't. Half of the $2,200 gifts last year came through the Hansen Ohana.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've always, and you keep, every time the list grows, you grow your event.
We have to. There's
Grow the donations, really. And that's amazing because you see the more the need. It's not like, well, we're only going to give you extra what we started doing 22 years ago. No. Every time you see the need increase, you increase your efforts, which thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Our pleasure, completely.
Well, it's not just us too. I mean, I've known our toys have started earlier and, being more numerous, people have really been getting ahead of it. And what have you been seeing? I mean, how are the donations been? Because it's a really tough thing right now with charities that are, privately or publicly funded. They're scrambling because there's just no cash in the system. So how have you guys been since you're private,
To be honest with you, people want a return, ROI, right? Return on investment, no matter what it is. Even if it's something from your heart, you want to make sure that whatever you're investing in, there's a return on it. With the friends, because we do run at an 11% operating, I'm the only employee. We have no other employees, right? We have a working board of directors with 15 board members. And like I said, doctors parking cars, lawyers flipping hamburgers at the golf tournament, whatever it might be. There's never a complaint. You know what I mean? And because of that, they come in and do my data entry. We got CPAs on the board that do our books. We don't pay for bookkeeping. All those cost-cutting things brings us down to that 11%. So when people come and invest, they see that the return on their investment is impacting directly into the children.
Maximum reach possible. Yeah. So, but you've seen an uptick in donations too?
Yes, tremendous. What happened was a lot of nonprofits are in trouble. They've already started laying off employees, but people want their money to go to the people that are being impacted.
Yeah.
They don't want to pay salaries. Right. And that's what's happening to a lot of the nonprofits because they're no longer having therapy, people walking in and out of the door or anger management classes or whatever because of COVID. So our donations, to be honest with you, I'm ahead of last year at this point.
Oh, good.
Thank goodness, because there's a lot more people in need. I know that your load is going to be a lot harder this year with the amount of last minute stuff that comes at your doorstep is incredible, because you
Look,
get
we've
calls
tri-
at 2 in the morning.
Yeah, we've tripled the requests, and there's stupid things that like I don't even think of, right? I know I've been giving out gas cards because I want to eliminate that stress, Clint, that you were talking about, that are coming into the homes that ordinarily wouldn't be there. But I went and volunteered for another nonprofit, which I volunteered for a lot of them, and it was a turkey giveaway, 1,000 turkeys, and there was people in line since 4 o'clock in the morning. And I called a young girl I know who was a former foster girl who has a young baby, single mom. I said, hey, Saturday morning, they're going to be giving away turkeys down at War Memorial. And she says, Uncle, I have no gas to sit in line. I can't.
Oh.
So I never thought of that, right? So the people that are fortunate enough to be able to afford the gas, what about the people that can't? So a lot of donors have been given to me to be able to give food and gas cards to these people.
Yeah.
Even to get the kids to doctor's appointments or whatever it may be.
You know, it's one of the things too that I don't really think people understand. Everybody is in need. There's so many people in need, but it's every walk of life that's in need. You know, I saw people getting upset that there was, you know, a nice car, you know, in the line for the food drive. It's like, oh, well, what are they doing there? It's like, you don't understand. You don't realize that, you know, the managers, the GMs, you know, the people, everybody in the majority of our income brackets, you know, through the hotel and this is our economy, has come to gridlock. Everybody needs help. Don't be giving somebody a hard time that they need a helping hand. Are you kidding me? Everybody's in need. Everybody needs a helping hand at some point. So, you know, if you have the opportunity to give, you know, give. And you don't have to give till it hurts. We tend to give till it hurts, but, you know, just anything to help these people out, because it's huge. You got to fill that fridge. You got to fill those kids' tummies. And unless you're going to be willing to put that money and that time forward, who else is going to do it? I mean, we got to help each other. And this is the time to act. You know, during this time of year, it's the spirit of giving that what it's all about, regardless of, you know, your religious denomination. People need people. And if you don't step up, nobody else is. So I just want to tell you, thank you so much. I really appreciate all the love and time that you put forward. Everybody that gives this year and all the subsequent years and the future that you're going to be putting, thank you so much for everything you do.
I want to thank you guys because you're strong advocates. And you know what? You focus on the needs, Clint, because you and I had a conversation when COVID hit. And, you know, I could be like, oh, just give us money, right? No, we focused on food. And I connected you with the people at the food bank, right? Because that was the priority in our community. And that's what people have to realize. We have to prioritize where the greatest need is and keep having advocates like you and your mom and dad, right? Keep having those advocates out there saying these people need our help.
Especially,
you know, because people will answer the call, but like the guy who's talking about sitting in a Lexus in line, right? At least you could educate that person that made the statement is, you know, you don't understand why there's a guy in a Lexus in line, right? And once people do get educated, they're more apt to respond.
Well, the thing I don't like the attitudes to just with, you know, to guilt somebody. It's like, do you realize a lot of these homeless people that you see most definitely had a home at some point? You know, they had a Lexus, you know, and you can fall from grace. Anybody has the ability to have a mental break or get hooked on drugs, especially alcohol. You know, nobody gets it. It's all fun and games and like, I need, you know, a drink at the end of the day. Well, sometimes, you know, 2 or 3 drinks becomes 9 or 10 drinks, and that becomes a nightly thing. And then they're not able to get to work. You know, they're not able to get the help they need. People fall from grace. If they don't have that safety net in place, there's nothing that's going to happen except they're just going to spiral out of control. So don't guilt somebody for getting the help they need. Everybody needs help from time to time, regardless of who they are. So let them have their moment and give them the helping hand. You know,
I have another question. Just a quick question, sorry. Paul, should we be focusing on asking people when they call us What is the biggest need? Should we say clothes for teenagers or?
Donna, to be honest with you, the biggest need right now is the gift cards.
Okay,
We get a lot of toys, but we have to go out and buy the gift cards. And I was just speaking to a gentleman again, and like Cliff was talking to, you know, different people, you guys advocating just about that need, and, you know, just having a conversation, because he's like, well, what's the greatest Christmas need? And I said, it's the gift cards, because we actually have to purchase them, right? Because we give out 700 and something, I mean,
Yeah.
phenomenal amount of cards. And next day, he calls me up. He says, I just called Fidelity. They're sending you a $3,000 check overnight.
Damn,
Right.
Fidelity. That's awesome. We use it all the time.
He didn't know the need. But again, he answered to it when he was informed about it. So,
right. Right, I just sent a 501c information over to Fidelity. And both Title Guarantee and Fidelity are collection places also besides our office for gifts and
Yeah.
donations of all sorts, so.
And you'll see the boxes all over. Bank of Hawaii is another one of them. They have their
Oh,
boxes
yes.
out. So
Bank of Hawaii's.
yes, Bank of Hawaii, Joan Martin has been amazing. And
Isn't she wonderful? Oh, bless her soul.
A lot.
there's one woman that lost her son. So it's her Christmas thing every year to go down
Yeah.
to the Kahului one and load the thing. Like
Oh,
loaded with tons and tons of toys, and she does it in memory of her child.
Oh,
I'm not going to mention names because it's, you know, private. With everybody has tough times that they go through. But, you know, I actually went to Webelos with them, and the father was our scoutmaster, and, you know, into Boy Scouts. So I knew him, and it was really, you know, sudden and unfortunate. But, you know, it's one of those things that she does. She puts a lot of love and effort into making sure that we have successful drives, and I'm just feel the community come together to make this happen, because without
that goes back to your mom, right? There's a growing need. She has a conversation with Joan Martin. Guess what? The next thing we got boxes in Bank of Hawaii. Seriously, and that's what I'm saying about advocating, right? Meeting that need as it grows.
yeah.
yeah.
So if you guys have anything else to say before we wrap it up, we're coming to the end of our program. It's a hour-long show that we do every week, and you can always find any of the shows on MauiRealEstateRadio.com. And again, that's on the KAOI radio group. Do you guys have anything to say to wrap this up?
I just want to extend a big mahalo. Seriously, you guys, always there. The compassion and empathy you have for this community, no matter what it is. I've seen you step up to the plate and ensure that whatever that part of the community that's suffering at that time, that your focus is on it. And I just want to thank you from the whole community for that.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to thank you, Paul, too, of course. You know, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you. But also my son, Clint. I don't know where he got all his intelligence from, but maybe it's from Donna. But, and, you know, he's just such a giver. It's just great, and I appreciate him so much.
Someone instilled that in him.
I think so.
I'm doing what I can to put it into my kids too, because I have two little girls, and they're 9 and 7 right now, and they love, you know, the opportunity to give, and we try to make them realize how blessed and lucky they are, and that there's less fortunate people out there, and you've got to make sure that we spread the love because we're fortunate. So
I'd also like to, can I add, just for me, I just want to say to everybody that's listening to the program, please wear your masks for now, please, please, please. And not only that, please show true Maui aloha to everybody, including the tourists, because we need the tourist money for our economy to get the people back to work, to have our businesses thrive. And we really need people to welcome tourists and be grateful for the opportunity that they're spending money.
Yep.
Little or much, doesn't matter. They're all contributing to our economy, and we need to be grateful. Thank you. That's my thought.
And the nice thing is, been really fortunate. I've talked to a lot of the hotel operators and friends that are part of the hotel operators group, and they go to the meeting. they actually come with the understanding of, you know, I'm here, I'm adopting the principles to keep Maui safe. And most people are doing a wonderful job. There's definitely a few people out there that are not adhering, and they have a great system for communicating these, you know, these rule breakers and, you know, people that just don't believe anything that's real right now. We've been really fortunate here on Maui. We have some of the lowest numbers in the nation. Right now we're having a little bit of a spike, but still it's dramatically like a tenth of what anywhere else per capita in the United States. So we're this beautiful little safe haven. We see our numbers and we're responding accordingly. It's so easy to get mad at, you know, small inconveniences, but, you know, we all have to bear the burden somewhere and somehow. Thank you for everybody for all that you're doing. And again, this is Clint Hansen, Bob and Donna Hansen, Paul Tennyson on the KAOI radio group, Maui Real Estate Radio. We're broadcasting every Monday, 7 a.m. on 1110 a.m., 97.6 FM, 98.7 FM, and 95.5 FM on the KAOI radio group. Aloha and have a great day.